Storytelling from Scheherazade to today. Long ago, a kingdom soaked in grief and rage, a woman told stories to survive. Her name was Scheherazade, and for 1,001 nights she spun tales under the moonlight to the king, who was enraged and engulfed by grief for the betrayal of his previous wife. And before Scheherazade agreed to be his next bride, he was killing his brides to be on the morning after their wedding night. And through Scheherazade's way to keep herself alive, she spun stories to the king, keeping him clutched on the edge of his seat at the climax of the tale, and basically promising to come back the next night, and tell him the rest of the story. And she didn't just delay her death so that she didn't die, but Scheherazade knew that these stories could change people because stories have core values, and she transformed a brutal and tyrannizing king into somebody capable of empathy. She taught him courage, taught him how to be a king, how to be just and kind and merciful. And fast forwarding to today, because we're looking at comparing Scheherazade storytelling to a modern adaptation to today's media, is now people tell stories in a 15-minute TikTok video, multiple part Netflix series, not to survive, as Scheherazade did, but maybe to go viral, or maybe to be understood, or just for fun. And so stories shape who we are and what we value and who we become. And these platforms, like Scheherazade Tales, carry values of ways of being in the world. And so it's not just a nighttime scroll or a sudden talk about ethics, but it can be a liberation and also a manipulation. Media is so easily spun nowadays, and it can be used to heal a heart, as a Scheherazade did, or just poison and amplify somebody's beliefs and feelings. And as a way to connect to modern times, social media influencers are exactly that, influencers. They become role models, they're selling filters or tales that an algorithm decides for you. And so you don't just get values like you would from a book or from a verbal tale, but you live in somebody's constant drama, and that means just a constant distress. And the king isn't just one type of man. In this adaptation to the modern time, it's all of us, swiping and scrolling on our phones, choosing which show to watch and which book to pick up and which audio and podcast to listen to. It's deciding which voice we allow ourselves to listen to. And here's the thing, Sahardar didn't just tell stories for the king, she told them to teach him, because she was trying to change him for the better, partially just so he didn't get killed, and then partially to make him a better man. So, first of all, she didn't get killed, and then also he didn't go and kill other people, and he didn't continue to be a tyrant. So, and that's the role of great storytelling, past and present. And so now let's go deeper. So, what if today's Hairs Our Day is the podcast host telling stories of a war zone or of horror or of injustice? And so, people sharing stories online make you pause and think, especially if it's impactful or just like you don't experience it a lot. You kind of reel back and think and try to pause on what you are listening to. Is this real? Is this something that's impacting you? Is this something that can impact others around you? And there's a lot of focus on how it affects you, how it affects the world around you, and how it can affect others. And so it can pause and help you connect to change. And there's a benefit in that because sometimes we need to change as a society, as a person. There's a good thing in personal growth. And on the flip side, media can also be used to show false images in the sense of like perfection. Perfection is not real as much as we'd like it to. And there's also a flip side of being surface value, not showing what's truly happening, false media, and it shows like a false narrative that we allow ourselves to listen to and take in. Because you can't just shut your ears and eyes off, you take that internally. And so we begin to take all of these versions of life around us, and there is only like, there's always going to be multiple narratives of life. And so we start getting these stories of told what the world should be, what people the world tells us, and what we choose to believe. And that's a choice. It's a very powerful choice. And because the stories we surround ourselves with, whether it's like ancient tales and mythical stories or streaming shows, they slowly engrave. And so there's a lot of ways that media can impact us. And there's even like psychological explanations of if you watch something, you gain ways to understand. Like reading fiction activates some parts of the brain to understand real people. And we need to be curators of our own media diet, not just passive consumers and customers of it. But we can't always control what we choose, but what we feel feed our soul. Just like Scheherazade, she could have stayed silent, but instead she spun tales of imagination, heart, and purpose. So the lesson is that in the world of constant media, tell stories that matter. Because there's only so many stories and perspectives you can take in, even if they're false, before you build your own wall of belief and understanding. And it is an impressive and strong thing to do to have that wall of understanding built, even if it's on false things, but then change it. So if you are given false media and this is and that's your understanding of a concept, it is a wonderful thing to be able to look at that and realize that it is false and break it and change your understanding and build a better foundation. And so listening to the stories you're comfortable with, or it's not always the best because sometimes the stories you're comfortable with is the false stories. And so it's healthy to sometimes be uncomfortable, especially in unhealthy uncomfortable because they're wrong, bad medias to consume. However, it is good to grow, and being uncomfortable is in a state of growth. And so listening closely to these stories can change your own way of thinking. Some excerpts from A Thousand and One Nights are: It is said, O wise and gracious king, that long ago, a faraway land, there lived a merchant. But before I tell you of him, let me weave the moonlight into thread and tie the stars into a net of tales. For the night is long and my words are many. And perhaps by dawn you will not see just the end, but the beginning again. And that's an interesting way of saying that. You can just reimagine a whole story. And I love this tale because it's such mythical and romantic themes in the sense of taking a story like and being able to spin it and add morals in and adding a vital sense of feelings and identity and hope. So here's another excerpt from The Thousand and One Nights, which each tale I shall give you the riches of my mind, for in the stories lie the power to change a heart. And that is very true. That is the whole conclusion of this whole idea that media can change you. It can change your thinking, change your belief, and change your ideology. There's some people who change religions based on the media they intake. So that's an interesting thing to understand, as you can be altered and changed by words and stories because our voices hold power.